So I got a call one afternoon from a woman asking about ultrasound exams. She had just found out that her daughter was pregnant and was looking at what options she had for getting an ultrasound. In the course of talking with her, she shared with me that her daughter was considering getting an abortion, wasn't really sure, so she was trying to find some options for her in making that decision. I shared with her the services that we could offer to her, being able to do a pregnancy test and have a nurse consultation, and then to be able to send her to do an ultrasound exam. When our patient came for her appointment, she brought with her her boyfriend and her mom. We'll call her Sarah for confidentiality's sake. When I walked into the lobby, I noticed kind of a tension in the air. Mom and boyfriend were on separate sides of the room, and there was just kind of almost this little sense of just apprehension. So as she was working on her paperwork, the patient advocate, the nurse, and I were in here praying that God would just work in a powerful way in that appointment. After we were done praying, I went and grabbed Sarah and took her back to our consultation room, and she got to meet her advocate, Bonnie.
Well, Sarah was looking more on her decision guide. She put that her mother wanted her to parent, and she was willing to be supportive. Her boyfriend was leaning more towards abortion financially, and she was in between. She didn't know which one, or more like which side to choose. Sarah was feeling very emotional when we came back to sit down and talk, and she was crying, she was depressed, she hadn't been sleeping, and she didn't know which way to turn.
It's pretty common for women when they find out that they're pregnant, especially in an unexpected pregnancy, to feel a lot of pressure about their choice. Sometimes they feel like their boyfriend or their mom really wants them to make a certain decision, whether that is they feel like their boyfriend wants them to have an abortion or their mom wants them to parent. Sometimes they even feel pressured to maybe place their baby for adoption. It becomes really difficult for them to know what their heart and mind is because they feel this pressure. And sometimes that pressure is not anything anybody has stated to them, but their own assumptions of what somebody wants them to do, that they feel that pressure.
My role as a nurse involves taking a complete history of the medical background of each patient to answer any medical related question for pregnancy-related issues, and to educate the patients on pregnancy-related issues, as well as try to estimate how far along the gestation of the pregnancy is and the probable due date. And then after informed consent, we provide the test and then deliver the results. When the results come back positive for a patient who is undecided as to carry or to abort, the emotion that plays across the situation it's not sadness or resignation. It's more of a slow process of information where you don't see happiness, you don't see anger. You're seeing them trying to work through a conflict in their head, and they do have a resolve then to go through with a decision. And that's usually when our patient advocate steps in and says, okay, now that we have the result, let's talk about what's next.
One of the things that we really try to do as a clinic is provide a safe space for our patients to be able to talk through and think through their options. Sometimes that means we take them back first and allow them to talk with the advocate and the nurse and really kind of process what's going on and get the information that they need about where they are in their pregnancy and all of that. And oftentimes we'll then bring the father, the potential father, or the mom of the patient in and allow them to be a part of that conversation. It's pretty common in the midst of those that some of the women who really feel like their boyfriends want them to have an abortion, they find out that that's not the case at all, and he's just really trying to find a way to be supportive of her. So it creates a neutral place where they can talk through their feelings about it together and kind of get on the same page.
So we talked about some things that we could do and about good help. And then we talked about, well, what would you think about having an ultrasound? Would that help? And her eyes lit up and she was excited. Can we do that? And I said, yes, we can. And she said, today? And I said, we can try. So we called and we set up an appointment, and we had an appointment that afternoon, 2 hours later. And so they both said, yes, we can make it today. When Sarah and her boyfriend and her mom left, we prayed together and asked God to just help these two lovely people make a decision together with him. So after the ultrasound I felt was over, I gave Sarah a phone call. After I told her that I wanted to see how it went for her and her boyfriend, and she told me it was very cool. The doctor was cool with her, and they got to see and hear, and he explained things to them that they didn't know, and decided that they could do this together. And they decided to parent and have the baby. When Sarah told me that news, it's just an answer to prayer. I just said, thank you, God, for allowing these two to come together and make this decision. And I know that your hand is in it.
If I could tell women who find themselves in an unexpected pregnancy one thing, I would tell them that they have time. So we encourage them to come in and talk with us about what their options are and get that education, and just take a moment to process what's happening and to get the information that they need. This case is a great example of how an ultrasound played a huge role in that decision for them, because they had that pregnancy test. They confirmed that it was positive. They had an opportunity to talk through it together, and then to go for the ultrasound and to see the emotional reaction change throughout the course of that time with them. It really is reflective of what a lot of our patients experience. The decision these women are making is a significant decision that has an impact on their lives and the lives of their families for generations to come. As we sit down with these women, we have an impact on their lives as well. This particular situation is an excellent example of that. In the course of our interaction with Sarah, we found out that Sarah's mom had actually come to our clinic for a pregnancy test. It was at the PMC 25 years ago that Sarah's mom learned she was pregnant with Sarah. The PMC is creating an incredible legacy in our community. When Sarah's mother heard of her daughter's situation, the first thing she thought was, I know a place. It was helpful to me, and they can help you too. And she gave us a call. What I love about the PMC ministry is the opportunity to see God at work in the lives of people who sometimes have never even met him before. We see the way that he's at work before they ever even walk into our building. We see the way that he's at work in the lives of our advocates and our nurses, the way he's at work in those consultation rooms in the midst of those appointments. And we see the way that he is at work in the decision that so many women make. It's very profound and humbling, and I'm incredibly grateful to be a part of that.